Yeah, I've always fancied going to one of those, dressed up as a nun. No, actually, I think I've got a dirndl. I wear my dirndl.
Yeah, with those those twirly ear things, the plaits that I don't have any hair for.
Yeah.
Power to Live More with Joe Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello, my name is Ellie Dodds and I am co-presenter. Today Joe is interviewing Rachel McGuinness of Wake Up with Zest. Rachel and Joe have moved in the same online circles for many years but only got to have an actual conversation just before recording the podcast. They have since recorded a webinar together about sleep, which you can watch through Joe's subscription service by going to powertolivemore.com/subscription. They are still trying to meet in person. Till 2004, Rachel worked in marketing and events in the telecoms industry. Since then, she's been helping busy people to get healthier and reclaim their energy so they can get back on their game in a more sustainable way. Her recommendations are based on what she has experienced herself. In the year 2000, she realised that her busy corporate lifestyle had caused her to become so unhealthy that she was heading for burnout and some serious health issues if she didn't stop her self-destructive lifestyle. She decided to completely change how she lived her life. She got into a proper sleep routine, adopted a clean approach to eating, and added regular exercise to her daily habits. Now she is 42 pounds lighter and 4 dress sizes smaller. But even more importantly than that, she's fit and has more energy than she had as a teenager. She's now trained in cognitive behaviour therapy for insomnia, stress management, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, nutrition and personal fitness training. And she works with executives, professionals and entrepreneurs, people who have busy lives and need more sleep, to give them practical advice on how to get their sleep back on track so they can fire on all cylinders. Back to the studio!
Today I'm interviewing Rachel McGuinness of Zest Lifestyle. Welcome, Rachel. Thanks for joining me.
Hello.
Really good to have you here. So tell me a bit more about you, what you do and where you do it.
Okay, well, I'm otherwise known as the Zest because I put the zest back into people's lives. So it's all about helping busy people get healthy, really. And what I mean by that is sort of giving them loads more energy, helping them achieve consistent weight loss and help them look incredible and feel amazing. And I do that by helping them eat smart, move more, sleep well and chill out. And I work with people either face-to-face, so it's more than likely in London, or remotely. So I can do it by Zoom, FaceTime or Skype. And I'll work with individuals or small groups or organisations.
Lovely.
A variety of different ways of working with people.
So do you have a home office?
I do, yes.
Ah, is it a nice special place for you, or do you just sort of work in different places around the house depending?
No, I have my special designated space. So I'm in the attic. And I'm in a modern house that doesn't actually have proper attic space, so the attic is actually a room, and I overlook the Oxfordshire countryside, and there's like no buildings in between me and the Chilterns, so it's great.
Oh,
right by the Thames as well.
Yeah, it sounds really good. So just tell us a bit more about your journey, because I know from checking you out on your website and so on that this wasn't always you, this zesty lifestyle person. So how did you get into doing what you do?
I used to be very unzesty, actually. So I used to be 4 dress sizes bigger than I am now. So I was about a size 18, which is about 3¼ stone. I was very unfit. I smoked like a chimney, drank like a fish, and ate like a Pac-Man. So, yeah, I was very, very unhealthy. And it really means, and I'll sort of blame my upbringing, really, because my mum was brought up during the war, so she always made me eat everything on my plate. I think we're sort of generation of kids in the 60s, so it's like, eat everything on your plate, you know, there's a war on. Yeah. But there wasn't one. And so I had that drilled into me, and then I was bullied as a teenager about being overweight, but I don't think I was. I think I was just shapely, and it was just me developing. And I just sort of got into this cycle of dieting, of yo-yo dieting for 22 years. And I actually worked out the other day that 41% of my life I spent on a diet. That didn't work. Yeah, so he was at the age of 37. I was in Barcelona on business, got up one morning in my hotel room, on my way to the bathroom, caught my reflection in the mirror and had what I called my OMG moment, where I thought, you know what, I'm 3 years away from 40. It's time you sorted yourself out. So I did. Got back home to the UK, stopped dieting and started eating healthily, joined a gym, stopped smoking, cut down on my drinking, and just began to see results within about 6 weeks of, you know, looking better, feeling a lot more energized, more focused and productive, and I was actually working less hours because I was taking time out for me and actually looking after me. So 3 years later, I decided to make a business out of what I learned. So here I am, 12.5 years later.
So can you pinpoint what that shift was? Because you know, I've looked in the mirror quite a few times and thought enough's enough, but it hasn't necessarily moved me into a 6-week program of dealing with it. Do you know what it was that happened that day?
I don't know. It's funny, I call it this magic mirror. I do not know what it was about that particular mirror, but it was just something that shifted. And I think maybe the night before I'd been out on client entertainment, sort of smoking and drinking too much and eating far too much, and I just looked dreadful. And I suppose maybe I just got to that point where I just hit rock bottom, that I just knew the only way was up. And that if I didn't start to sort myself out, then I was going to head for some serious health problems. And my mother had a heart attack at the age of 65, and then she'd been diagnosed with leukemia, and my dad had always had problems with high blood pressure, and his father had a fatal heart attack in his mid-50s, and my brother was on statin. So I kind of thought, I don't really want to end up like them. So I thought, you know, I've just got to get myself healthy. And I think actually the other thing was I'd had a book I bought from a book club, which do you remember book clubs in like the 1990s and 1980s? And
explains the pile of books I had in my house for years that I finally managed to get rid of.
That's right, that we never ever read because we had to buy X amount of books every week, and that moved on to CDs, didn't it? Yeah. Well, I had this book, and I've still got it actually. It's one of the only books I've got from my book club, and it was called Detox Yourself by Jane Scrivener. And it says, feel the benefits after only 7 days. And it was banish cellulite. I've just picked it up, actually. Increase your energy levels, boost your immune system, lose weight, and improve your complexion. So I thought, do you know what? I think it's about time I read that book. And so that's really what I did. I spent 30 days doing this detox program and kind of never looked back, really.
Yeah. I think you took it to a bit to the extreme, starting a business out of it and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I kind of go on about when I'm sort of teaching people about the 7 steps of sort of being healthy, and the last step is all about inspiring others. And I think, I did take that a bit too far. And I think what happened was that people kept asking me about my transformation, because most of them have seen me overweight for most of my life, and then they saw me sort of looking rather svelte, and they kept asking me how I did it, and all the time I was giving out this advice and information. And I was having a chat with a friend one day, and she said, well, why don't you get paid for all this information you're giving out? And I thought, do you know what? She's absolutely right. And it just felt like the right thing to do. Yeah. So within a couple of weeks, I just found all the courses that I needed to do over a period of 18 months. And that was it. I had no fear about it. It was just like, this is it, woman on a mission. And considering I trained as a personal trainer and I hated any kind of fitness before until I got fit, it was just weird. And I'd always loved food, so
wow.
I did stress management, and then I've done some of the head stuff. So I've done NLP and hypnotherapy as well.
So tell us what a day looks like for you. You're one of these people who gets up at some ridiculous hour in the morning, like my last podcast guest who gets up at 4.
Yeah, I don't get up. I don't get up at 4 at the moment, but actually in the summer I was, and it seemed that I needed less sleep, and I was just waking up because it was light and I had like loads of energy. But since the autumn's come, then I'm getting up a bit later. So at the moment I get up at 6, and I am an early bird, and I get all my energy in the mornings. So that's really my prime time, if you like, because I'm not so good working in the evenings.
So do you have a specific routine, or is it different depending on what you're up to that day?
Well, it depends whether or not what I call my London days, and I've got to be out early and up into town, or I've got like a networking thing. But most of the time, what I do is I wake up and I stick my headphones on my iPhone and I meditate for 10 minutes. And I use an app called Headspace. And I found that is absolutely great. So you're supposed to actually sit in a chair and do it, but I don't. I just do it lying down. I don't bother to get up at that time. And then I use a gratitude journal, and I'll write my affirmations and the things that I'm so grateful for, and just do a little bit of day planning as well. And then I'll get up and maybe work for an hour, and then I'll do some exercise. So I'll probably do like a 15-minute HIIT workout, that's high intensity interval training. And so I'll just grab one off the internet. So I'll just Google them, or I'll do I'm doing a 30-day challenge at the moment, which you get a HIIT workout in your inbox every day. So that just keeps me going. On a Saturday or Sunday, I might go out for a run. So I'm getting up to about 10k now, so I'll go out for a run. But otherwise, I don't tend to run during the week, else it makes me tired during the day.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably do all my creative stuff in the mornings, and sort of do all my sales stuff in the mornings, and then in the afternoons I'll probably do all my client calls.
Yeah. So what about at the end of the day? Do you have a particular way of winding it down as well?
Yeah, I try to turn off my tech about an hour to 90 minutes before bedtime, because there's this whole thing about the blue light from tablets and phones and computer screens can wake you up, because you start to secrete the hormone serotonin, which is your waking up hormone, which disturbs the sleepy hormone melatonin, which is supposed to make you sleepy and then go to sleep. So I try to avoid that, so to make sure I get an undisturbed night's sleep. And sometimes I may be working up to 8 o'clock in the evening if I've got a client call. So there's about 2 or 3 times a week that I allow clients to book in that 7 o'clock slot if they're, working in the corporate world and they're not home until, that time. So but I don't enjoy working in the evening. So I'll probably say about 7 o'clock is about my limit.
Yeah. And do you sort of shut the office door symbolically, or do you just find it easy to stop?
I suppose
I'm only asking because I want some tips, because I'm rubbish at it.
I suppose I try to avoid going back into upstairs to the office, and I suppose because it's on a different floor, then I try to sort of shut off that part of my day. But I do find myself sometimes sort of scrolling stuff on my phone, or just making a few odd notes. But yeah, it is quite difficult to switch off, depending on what type of business you've got as well. And I think if you're very passionate about what you do,
Yes.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I think my top tip is to have a tech embargo 90 to 60 minutes before bedtime, or 60 to 90 minutes before bedtime.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely. So what about getting things done during the day? How do you actually manage what you do? Do you use any particular tools or apps, or pen and paper? That's what everyone seems to say. I'm the tech one. Everyone else goes pen and paper.
I suppose that, yeah, my go-to notebook is I always have to have a moleskin notebook, or however you pronounce it, and it always has to be plain pages. So I'm very fussy about my notebooks, and I do prefer a soft cover as well. So that's my thing.
You're not fussy or anything.
What works for me. And then kind of to-do list, I'll go between my moleskin, and I'll also use Trello. I love Trello. So it's like a project planner, but you can use it for all sorts of different things. And I can use it for giving clients information. I can use it for my to-do list. I've got my vision board on it. It's just got numerous things that you can do with it. And what's great about it is you can have it on your phone, your tablet, or you just look at it online. Mm-hmm. So Trello is my thing. I love Canva. I don't know what I did without Canva.
No, neither do I. Exactly.
I mean, I think I used to sort of struggle along in Photoshop Elements, and it was so sort of clunky and difficult to use and took ages to load up. But Canva, I think, has just revolutionised everybody's sort of work.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a sort of online desktop publisher, isn't it?
Yeah. Definitely.
So Canva is another one. And then with regard to sort of like business planners, I was using the Daily Greatness Business Planner, but I kind of fell a bit out of love with it sort of halfway through the year. And I'm now onto a passion planner.
Oh.
Which is something, I know it sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? My passion, planning my passion. So you can get passion planners from the States, and you can get them in like A5 size, or sort of, I suppose it's kind of it is about A4 size. That's quite good for Americans. And so you can plan your week, and you can be quite creative with the way you sort of add the stuff in. It is basically a diary with a few extra bits in it. And, you know, you have a thing at the end of the month about how your month was, how it's been, and how it fits in with your plans for the year and stuff like that. So I was giving this a sort of bit of a road test because I could get it for $10, and I quite like it, so I'm going to get one for 2017.
The other one to have a think about is, I don't know if you've listened to any of the other podcasts, but Sophie Jury, and I don't know what number she was on, Jewry, she has the ultimate diary planner that she actually puts together herself every year, and has a very thriving Facebook group where she gets feedback and ideas and thoughts from people. So she adapts it every year based on what people are looking for. And she's just done a Kickstarter, which was really interesting, on something called the notebook, the Minerva notebook, which she got funded, and it was really exciting watching, because like right up to the sort of last 24 hours, she was only up to about 60 or 70% funding, up to the £10,000 that she needed. And I thought there's no way she's going to do it, and I just thought good on her that she's carried on. She's just going for it, and she's doing everything that she planned to do and more to get it. But I thought there's no way it's going to happen, and I knew if it had been me I would have stopped, because I'd have been embarrassed. But she actually pushed it through, and she got through, and it ended up with £600 and odd more than she needed, and she was done something like 3 hours before the deadline. It was just amazing to see, but she's definitely worth checking out.
I'll check that one out.
She has, yeah,
because it's a bit of a pain having to import stuff from the States, plus I had to pay duty on it as well. But the Passion Planner was actually funded by Kickstarter or crowdfunding, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And another app that I'm using, I've just been trying to get back into using a CRM again, and finding one that works for me. And I was like road testing a few over the past, I think it was the Sunday before last, I thought, right, I'm going to spend Sunday afternoon just going through different CRMs and seeing which one works for me. Deep joy. And I've actually discovered that Capsule might be the one that works for me and does what I want it to do. I didn't want anything too complicated, but I wanted something where I could change the fields and add different things that were relevant to my business, that wasn't kind of just a general thing. So
I was waiting with bated breath, because I too have had one of those days where I've tried so many. I must be registered on so many CRM systems, websites where I've gone in to try them, and I've used Capsule on and off for years, and I keep coming back to it. I haven't found anything that's better. And if you start to customize it with some of the I think they call them tracks, don't they? And something else.
Yeah.
So I used to do it where if I had a speaking gig, I'd put in a speaking track, and it would automatically create a load of tasks for me to do to plan for the speaking, and then they would automatically get put into my Todoist, which is what I use for my to-do list. Through, I think I use Zapier for that, or it could be IFTTT, which all sounds very impressive, but the fact that I'd never do any of it until the last minute as usual. So I've stopped using that functionality now, because I know all these tasks that I didn't actually do, pretending I was being organised. But
just trying to keep track of leads and everything like that. But I tried using it on Trello, and it just didn't kind of work for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people recommended HubSpot. When it came to actually sitting down and trying to work it out, I just couldn't get my head around HubSpot. So
yeah,
I suppose it just depends really how your brain works. And but the only thing with HubSpot, which I still get a reminder every time I send an email, is that it's got like this plugin that works on Outlook, and as soon as you have like a new contact, it says, do you want to add this to HubSpot? And it's such a cool idea. So I wish Capsule would do that.
Yes, that would make it easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you need a CRM that does everything you want it to do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there is one out there, or that's what all their salespeople say anyway. It's interesting, that thing about finding what suits you. I mean, that's a message that I sort of use quite a lot, and I think it's so true. I mean, I've also got an account with Trello because a lot of people have recommended it, and I've read about it a lot over the years. But I knew I probably wasn't going to like it very much, and I didn't particularly, and I know why, and it's because I'm a very linear person. So I've never really got my head around the idea of mind maps, although I can do them and I know why they're really useful for lots of people. I actually remember lists rather than, the visual picture sort of stuff, which is weird because that's not supposed to be how it is. And so I just knew that Trello being quite visual and boards wasn't necessarily going to work. So I use Asana, which for me is, very linear, which is exactly, what suits me. So it's interesting, isn't it, about finding the stuff that really fits with your, your personality and the stuff that works for you.
Yeah, and it's quite funny because I tried using Trello, I think it was last year, just couldn't get on with it at all. And then I think I was on some webinar training thing and somebody kept talking about Trello, and I thought, well, I'll give it another go. And Trello and I have not looked back. And, I just use it for everything, including planning my holidays. And it's just everything. My whole world is Trello.
Yeah, lovely. So is that all your tools and apps done? Shall we move on?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Lovely. So let's go to your neck of the woods. Let's talk about health. You talked at the beginning about I think 4 areas which fitted entirely again with the sorts of things I talk about when I talk about health. And I don't talk in lots of detail about it, but I think you were talking about nutrition, exercise, sleep, and you said movement, didn't you? So nutrition, movement, sleep, and what I call mindfulness. But you were talking about something similar that made me think about that. So it was interesting, those 4 things. Sorry, so how do you describe it?
Yeah, so it eat smart, move more, sleep well, and chill out.
That's it, chill out, yeah, exactly. So tell us more about what you do to make sure all those things are happening for you.
Okay, well, I suppose I have to walk my talk.
I was thinking that. No pressure.
No, it's what keeps me slim now. It's like I can't overeat. But my whole approach to health is the 80-20 rule. So, if you're fit and healthy, then you can maintain and you can indulge. So I'm not a person that's like, you've got to eat clean, 24/7, 365 days a year. But, I don't want to deprive people, and I don't want to deprive myself either. So, I believe in treating myself and respecting food. But I do find that, if I do eat unhealthily for a prolonged amount of time, I do feel it, and I think it's understanding what food does to your body. And so I probably Monday to Friday, what's going on in the week. So it may go a bit sort of haywire one day, and then at the weekend I tend to sort of just relax the rules and just enjoy myself. And I do drink alcohol, but obviously I don't sort of drink huge amounts, but it's just keeping everything in balance really, and you can have anything you want, but it's all about moderation.
Yeah.
So that's really my eating side of things, and I tend to base my meals around protein rather than carbohydrates. I do eat a low carb diet, but I do eat meat, so I do eat animal fat, and I eat cheese, fish, pulses, eggs. Not so keen on tofu. So I have a wide variety of proteins, and then lots of vegetables, and then fruit. I probably have no more than probably 3 pieces of fruit a day because of the sugar, and that really suits my body. And I follow a program called Metabolic Balance, which is what I actually do as a program for my clients.
Yes.
And then moving more, I mentioned earlier that 15-minute workouts. I'm a huge fan of HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training, or Tabata, because you can just get so much, you can achieve so much in 7, 10 or 15 minutes. And I found since I've been doing HIIT workouts, I've actually become leaner and stronger as a result. So instead of spending hours in the gym doing weights and 3 sets of 20 repetitions of bicep curls or whatever, just doing short bursts of exercise in 20 seconds with a 10-second rest is really what works for me, and they're usually in 4-minute cycles.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, I'll download those off the internet.
So
Look on YouTube.
Variety.
Yeah, and there's like loads of them out there. And actually, what I do for my clients is I put them all onto a Trello board, which is called my Move More board. So again, I'm just sharing what I do with my clients. With regard to sleep, I have an alarm on my phone which goes off at 9 o'clock every evening to remind me to start to get ready to go to bed. So once you've tidied up the kitchen, fed the cats, and done your ablutions, then you're in bed by about sort of like 9:45, 10 o'clock, and then I may read from until 10:30, or it may sometimes be 11 o'clock, just depending on how awake I am, and then wake up at 6 and try and just chill out and not read anything too stimulating before bedtime.
Yeah.
And and that's what's going to, don't read a Scandi thriller. So it's usually some light fiction or some chick lit or something like that.
Yeah, so not one of those like business books that suddenly gets your brain running in overdrive overnight.
I know. I used to read business books, and then I decided it wasn't really such a good idea.
Yeah.
I needed to switch off.
I just read boring ones and send me to sleep.
Yeah. Or actually reading the same page over and over again. And then with regard to chilling out, I love getting outside because I live in a really beautiful area of the countryside in South Oxfordshire, so I'll sort of walk to the Thames. And what's actually been great this year, but I got into my running for various reasons, and I've just been watching spring evolve and develop. I've been like up close and personal with spring, so I've been studying the hedgerows, and as soon as there was like something new that had sort of come out, then I'd take a photograph of it. So if anybody is listening as a friend of mine on Facebook, you will have seen lots of pictures of flowers and also slugs and snails, because they're like the easiest animals to photograph. I'm quite fascinated by slugs actually, and especially when you're on an iPhone 6, you can get quite good photographs of them. Yes, I have a collection of slug photographs and snails. It's weird. It's a weird hobby. And
I haven't done the slug bit yet. I do take lots of photos when I'm out, but not slugs. I will see what I can find.
Yes, there's lots of slugs in Oxfordshire. And what else do I do? So I like listening to music to sort of chill out, and I like eating. So that's my whole thing that I do is my indulging and my treat as well. So I do actually really respect food. So when I do go out and eat, I enjoy it. Yeah. And I don't feel guilty around food. I mean, I used to. And so we've got some really great restaurants around this area, and we've got some great farm shops as well. So it's lovely to sort of go out and explore all these places and sort of find some like new different foods or a different supplier of food. So we've got some great delis as well around here.
Yeah.
Another thing I like to do to sort of chill out is I'm cooking, And then colouring, this whole thing, the adult colouring book. So I'm quite happy with my, and I did start off, it sound like really weird. Yeah, I did start off with crayons, pencil crayons, and I didn't get on with those. So I swapped to felt tips.
I love the way you say I'm going to sound really weird. You've just told us you take pictures of slugs. I don't think it gets any better than that.
I know. So yeah.
Oh, I'm still on pencil.
Colour...
I'm not old enough for
right.
tips yet.
Well, you might advance into that class. Yeah, I found it a bit frustrating with pencils and had to keep sharpening them. So yeah, there's nothing like a Staedtler felt tip.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's, and I read, obviously I do read business books, and I listen to Audible on business books as well, or business books on Audible, and then just different types of fiction that I'll just read. It depends when I'm reading it, what time of day and what kind of really takes my fancy, really. Yeah.
So how do you fit all that in? Because it sounds like a very busy life, and I can hear some people listening to this thinking, yeah, right, how am I ever going to do any of that?
Well, I suppose really the whole thing with like my morning ritual, and that actually comes from a book called The Miracle Morning. And what's really weird, somebody said to me, oh, you should read this book called The Miracle Morning. And I went to buy it, and on Amazon it came up and said, you've already purchased this book. And I didn't realise I had it already on my Kindle.
Yeah.
And it's about this guy who has this ritual every morning, and it's based on an acronym called SAVERS, SAVERS. And S is for silence, so meditation. So I'll only do 10 minutes of meditation, that's it, no more.
Yeah.
And then by the time I've done my journal and stuff, that's probably about 10, 15 minutes. Done exercise, that's only anything between 7 to 15 minutes. So really that's kind of like the first part of my sort of ritual done. And then, all the other stuff I sort of fit in as and when.
Yeah.
And I suppose, I can colour in while I'm half watching telly. If it's a programme my husband's watching and I'm not particularly interested in, that I can switch off and go into felt tip mode. And I'm quite happy. Mm-hmm. So I suppose it sounds a lot, but it isn't really.
No.
So I do have time to work and fit clients in and do my own business development.
Yeah, I think it's also just that focus, isn't it? Understanding how important it is to do those things and making sure it happens. And that's certainly sort of where I come from with it, which is that, yes, sometimes it's hard to fit everything in, but at least having the intention with some of those things and doing some things sometime during the week, is good, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So you reminded me when you talked about metabolic balance, we were talking before we came on as to how I'd come across you, and I remember now that one of our previous guests, Lucy Whittington, had talked about you, I think, about the metabolic balance, and I kept thinking I must check out what that means. So what does it mean? Just give us the short version.
Well, it's something I do under license, and it's actually Germany's #1 weight management program. And so what they call weight management is that it's to either maintain weight, lose weight, or you can use it to put on weight. So it's a really clever nutritional program. Mm-hmm. And it will also help with health issues as well. So things like endocrine, so hormonal problems, digestive issues, people who are maybe have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And what it does, or what we have to do, is we have to take people's blood. It makes me sound like a vampire now. And I don't personally take the blood, so it's people go for a blood test. So it's not eat right for your blood type, so it's far more sophisticated than that. So we get a full blood profile based on people's hematology. That's all to do with their red and white cells, platelets, everything to do with their blood, and then their biochemistry. So that's all the chemicals in your blood, anything from cholesterol, uric acid, potassium, phosphates. Do I say cholesterol? Your inflammation markers, all sorts of things like that. And then we also look at endocrine, which will be your thyroid. So we'll do your free stimulating hormone and TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone. So from all this information, it sort of builds up a picture of what the client's body is like. And then also we do a medical questionnaire as well. So we ask people if they have any health issues. All that information I put into a program for Metabolic Balance, And then all that information goes through 740 different algorithms to create a personalized nutrition plan for the client. And every plan is slightly different. It's really interesting. So they'll get a list of healthy proteins. So, some of the ones in the categories I talked about before: meat, fish, eggs, poultry, seafood, pulses, maybe tofu, cheeses, non-dairy and dairy, vegetables and fruit, and a little bit of carbohydrate. And people basically follow that program, and depending on what their goal is, whether or not they want to lose weight, they will lose weight, and it's like the healthiest way to lose weight. Or they'll put weight on, or maybe it will eliminate some of their health issues. So I've had a lady who had migraines or bad headaches for years, and within 4 days of being on the program, they'd gone.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, but mostly people see me for weight loss. So, and it's one of those things that it becomes a part of your lifestyle. So it's not a diet that you just do, because most people work with me for 90 days. So you don't just do it and then you come off it. So it's a lifestyle change. And Lucy's great. She's really embraced it, and so is her husband.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, yes, as I say, I'm sure you had a mention on that podcast, so now we've got the detail as well. So that's great.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Exactly. Lovely. So what about learning and improving yourself? You've talked about listening to books, reading books, and so on, and so I'm sure you've got some examples of things. And clearly, you've studied a lot since you started your business. So, in common with most of I think probably all of my guests, you clearly are looking to improve yourself on an ongoing basis. So, what sort of things are you doing for that?
So I've just done a course on the psychology of eating, so that was very interesting. So dealing more with the head stuff around the psychology of what makes people binge eat. So that was really interesting. I do love a good TED or TEDx talk. Yeah, I'm always sort of looking for new ones to watch and listen to. And then it's just really sort of picking up all the latest stuff on Audible, and and then I'm doing refresher courses with Metabolic Balance. And I just sort of keep up to date with, I suppose I've got 2 nutrition programs. So I've got Metabolic Balance, which is something I have to kind of stick to 100%. And then I've got my own program called Eat Smart, which is all a looser version of Metabolic Balance, where you don't get blood tests or stuff like that. But I'm always interested in nutrition. So I'm always following all the sort of like the top gurus, if you like. More than often they're in the States. Yeah. So Dr. Mark Hyman, Josh Axe, woman's name I've forgotten. Where are we? Somebody called Daria Pino Rose. So I'm always sort of looking at what those people are doing, and the sort of latest information on, what they're coming up with regard to the latest research in health.
Yes. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so I do usually ask about any books, films, or music that you recommend. You have sort of touched on the fact that you do quite a lot of reading. Is there anything you particularly want to put out there?
I suppose, gosh, there's just so much stuff out there.
It's not compulsory.
I'm trying to think. I know. I suppose, are there any favourites? I don't know really, but I suppose I've always enjoyed Tony Robbins, love him or hate him, and I have done his Unleash the Power Within 3 times. So I've walked across the hot pot cold, so I do quite like his stuff.
Yeah.
And then music-wise, I do like chill-out music, so I kind of like the sort of Ibiza chill stuff. I think that stuff never dates, and it's just a really nice calming type music, or sort of meditation type music. And then in terms of films, I do have a favourite. There's something called The Legend of Vagabond, and it was about a golfer. And I suppose it was one of those inspirational stories. A guy went off to World War One. He used to be like a top golfer, and then obviously he had suffered from shell shock. And then he was asked to play in this golf tournament. And he had to be sort of coached by this guy to sort of get him back up on form again. So it's kind of one of those nice stories. But I just remember the music from the film was really good as well. Mm-hmm. And there's another movie I've just seen recently, and this applies to my passion on food and wine, and it's a film called Bottle Shock. Right. It had Alan Rickman in it, and it's about something called The Judgment of Paris, where this British wine merchant who was working in Paris wanted to sort of shake up the French wine industry and do a blind tasting of really good Californian wines and see whether or not people could tell the difference. And he invited all these journalists and restaurateurs and sort of top wine buffs, and they did this wine tasting or blind tasting of the Californian and French wines. And they actually preferred the Californian ones. It was just really funny. Because I'm not a huge lover of French wine. I much prefer Californian or South African or Australian or New Zealand. And so that was a really good film because it was just one of those things that kind of just, it was proving a point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was sort of a recent film.
Well,
but yeah, I love the sound of music. I'm sorry?
And it had Alan Rickman in it. What more could you want?
Yes, God bless his soul. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, and of course I love the sound of music as well, I suppose. But is that inspirational? But it's just fun. I love to sing along to it.
I keep thinking I must show that to little Doddsy. I don't think she's seen that yet. I keep thinking maybe we should go to one of those sing-alonger versions, but
yes. Yeah, I've always fancied going to one of those dressed up as a nun. No, actually, I think I've got a dirndl. I wear my dirndl.
Yeah, with those those twirly ear things, you know, the plaits that I don't have any hair for.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. It's off the twirly ear things. I think that is what they're called. Those plaits, twirly ear things. Princess Leia had twirly ear things as well.
She did, yes, but they were different.
So you're the connoisseur of twirly ear things. You know the difference. So turning the tone down a bit now. What about on days when things don't go right? When you've had a really bad day, what do you do? How do you deal with it?
Turn left. I can't remember who told me that. When things don't go right, turn left. But yeah, I think one of the things I've learned is breathe.
Yes.
and walk away and just shift your energy and just kind of work out whether or not it's worth wasting energy on, you know, trying to solve that problem, or do you just walk away from it, or do I just sort of wait a bit and then work out how to go around the problem? And I think that's really what I do. That
reminds me of going on a bear hunt. You can't go around it. Got to go through it.
Exactly.
Oh, whatever. One of those anyway. Yeah. Okay. Well, what about on a day when you end the day knowing that you've had that chance to live more? And I always talk about that being the day where you've done the stuff you really want to do, not the stuff that you feel that you should do or you've had to have done. What does that look like? What will you have done?
I'll do two versions. I'll do a social version and a professional version. So on a day where you kind of just being with like people you love being with, or what I call my tribe. So and you've done some great experience together and you've had a lot of fun. It may have involved food and wine, but it's like a real community feel. That it's a day that you never ever want to have end. And then I suppose on a professional day, then it would be that, you know, I've been totally and utterly in the zone. I've probably achieved everything that I wanted to achieve and probably picked up a few clients as well. So that always makes me happy. So it's one of those days where everything just goes right. It just clicks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lovely. So that's the end of the interview. How can people find out more about you and connect with you? Oh, and I'll tell you what you should do.
Okay.
Just tell them, although this will be way past September or the other one.
Right.
You ought to tell them about that too for next time.
Okay, yes. So if you're listening next year, I started something called Zestember in September, and it's a health awareness challenge, and it's all about inspiring people to invest a little bit of time in their health every day. And this year it was based on 28 tips. So what I did was I had like a launch day and then I had a celebration day at the end. So it was like 1st of September was the launch day, end of September was the celebration day. And then that left me with 28 days to play with. So I sort of zoned each week into a sleep well week, a move more week, a eat smart. Each week had 7 tips for people to follow, and they can still go to the website and download the 28 tips. because I maintain your health is for life and not just for September.
Good point.
See where I stole that from. So it's 28 sort of useful tips. It's free of charge for people to download, and I'll probably be keeping the site up for a little bit. And then, so that's zestember.org.uk. So that's the free 30-day health challenge. But my real business website is zestlifestyle.com. That's ZEST and then lifestyle.com. And you can download a free guide there called The 9 Things That You Think Are Healthy But Pile on the Pounds. So you can get your hands on that. Otherwise, you can follow Zest Lifestyle on Facebook and on Twitter as Zest Lifestyle. And then on Instagram, I'm Zesty Lady.
Lovely.
And LinkedIn, I'm Rachel McGuinness. And then if you want to friend me on Facebook, it's just Rachel McGuinness.
Excellent. So I defy anyone to not be able to connect with you now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm everywhere.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much. Really enjoyed speaking to you and talking particularly about your specialism as well. We don't always get the health experts on here. And thanks for sharing all the tips and the tools and the apps that you shared with us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All this information is available in the show notes on the website powertolivemore.com/ in this case 35. The website is the place to go if you want to find out how I can help you to improve your productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience, your power to live more, and that's to do more of what you want to do. If you're listening to this in the summer of 2017, you may like to know that I'm launching a new mastermind group in September to help business owners to improve productivity, organisation and well-being, to enable you to reduce your overwhelm and live more alongside having a successful career or business. More information coming soon, but if you're on my list, you'll hear as soon as the details are live, and you can go to powertolivemore.com/power checklist to download my 5 fundamentals checklist to review your life and business and also to get on my list. Or you could email me at joe@powertolivemore.com if you want to find out more now. Again, the link for this show is powertolivemore.com/35, and I look forward to speaking to you next time.
Use your power to live more.